welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you today on WJOP-LP Newburyport at FM 96.3 on Channel 9, and will also be available on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube station at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and this morning I am just absolutely delighted to welcome back to the show a favorite and returning guest. Paula Estey is here. She's the founder and executive director of the PEG Center, a creative hub for social change, and she's here today to talk about an exciting launch of a community-wide read of a book featuring Christiana, Figueres, and Tom Rivett-Carnac's The Future We Choose, The Stubborn Optimist Guide to the Climate Crisis. So, Paula, first of all, welcome back to the morning show.
I'm so happy to be
thank
here.
you for taking time to be here.
Delighted.
So happy to be able to talk to you about this really interesting venture that you're launching.
Thank you. Me too.
But let's start, Paula, by just reminding folks of the PEG Center's overarching mission. And also, if you wouldn't mind, one of the recent ventures, in addition to the community-wide book read, is the recently launched PEG Pioneers. So give us that context.
Sure. So the PEG Center started literally after the first time he was elected in 2016, but 2017 is when we started. I've been an artist my whole life. I had a gallery for years. And I've been an activist since I was 16 years old on buses, for Eugene McCarthy for president.
Oh,
I met one of my best friends on that bus, too. It was just wonderful. So it's in my blood. And the PEG Center was sort of an easy segue from commercial art to art with a message. And we had a space for 13 years at Harris Street in Newburyport, and decided at the end of last year to decrease our expenses but keep our messaging going. So we gave up the space, but we do our programming all over town now. So, our message and our mission is literally about social and climate change, and we do that through art education and advocacy. It's a wide hoop, which is really good for us.
Oh, yeah.
So each program that we do, we bring a creative message to it to try to get people involved, excited, inspired to make changes. And we usually focus on one kind of social change at a time, and that includes climate change. So right now we've begun to focus there. The PEG Pioneers was an idea that formed only a few months ago, and it literally has a lot to do with this community read that we're doing. And what started to happen, Mary, over last in July, in early July, I was just exhausted as an activist, and I know that many activist organizations locally were experiencing that as well, and a lot of us did take a few weeks or a couple of months off during the summer. And during my sort of hiatus, what keeps coming up for me as an activist is that I don't want to any longer sort of deliver activism from the top down. Like, here's my idea, join me, here's a link, will you go do it yourself? But more and more in the climate that we're in right now, in the difficulties that we're in, I wanted to do something as a community, and that's always been my strongest suit as an activist. I gather people, I circle people, and so I wanted to see if we could raise leadership up from the bottom, so to speak, and that's where the PEG Pioneers came from. And what we're looking for is a leadership team that wants to get involved and wants to do projects together as community, because I truly feel like that's the only chance we have right now. My voice is not big enough on the national level, but it matters on a local level, and especially if we gather together.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's a brilliant strategy, because I think there are a lot of people who are concerned, more than concerned, worried, fearful about what's happening in our country right now, but don't know what to do. Besides writing postcards and donating, but would like to do more. But I think in terms of understanding what can I actually do that's more active, that's more dynamic, and that kind of gets me connected with other people in my community who can also provide that synergy, because that creates a lot of energy, I think, for change. So I think that's a brilliant plan.
We think it is too, and we live in a very comfortable and sometimes leaning towards apathetic community because we're comfortable and we like it just the way it is, including myself. And so the Pioneers is also a way that it was personal for me. It's a way for me to be supported to change, because change is really hard when you don't have to yet. I mean, for example, climate change, it hasn't, and ice has not infiltrated our communities as much as it has in other communities, so we tend to be isolated. And so gathering that energy and that synergy is going to be the work of us. Like, will you come? Will you get involved? What's it going to cost me? A lot of people think it's going to cost change. That's what we need to do.
I hope that more and more people are feeling like, oh my God, do we need change?
Yes.
So I think the moment is right.
Good, I hope so.
I hope so too, but I think so as well. And I think that somebody, as you're able to do, who can provide the spark, who can ignite that spark and say, yeah, come on, you can become a leader with us. We all have the capacity to be leaders.
We all do.
And we'll figure out the plans, and we'll help you figure out how we collaborate together. Each one of us can be a leader, and I hope the moment is ripe for that.
Me too.
So
I have to give a shout out to Mark Rosen, who's my husband and business partner, because it was his creation.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah, it was his concept.
Good on you, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your decision to focus on climate change at this point in time, because there's a lot of things going on, and they're all pretty urgent. So tell me a little bit about what made you decide, this time it's going to be climate change. This is going to be the priority for our next project.
It came out of that the scope is too big, and I had to land somewhere. The inspiration came over the summer when I decided that, okay, I'm going to take some time off from programming, but I did a bunch of research, and it was time for us to turn to climate anyway, but climate took it out of the political arena in some ways. I mean, climate change is about justice, too, so it doesn't take it completely out. But it just focused us away from that a little bit, and that scene out there in politics is too big for me. It was just simply too big. So I started reading climate books that scared the hell out of me, and they were just so real, so depressing. And then I took a walk through Jabberwocky, and literally this book fell off the shelf.
Oh, interesting.
And it was like, okay. I took it home, and the first 30 pages are rough there because they list the realities of what is happening. Then all of a sudden, something in that book started to turn towards hope, and it almost had a Buddhist nature to it.
Interesting.
Find your sanghas, and I'm in a couple of sanghas, and I adore the concept because I'm such a gatherer, and it's all about community and love and all of that, and so it made sense to me. All of a sudden, that idea of sharing hope with my community started to make sense. And yes, I wanted to have impact. I wanted it to be impactful. So the big idea was all right, let's get everybody to read this book. And Adrienne Rich is a wonderful, inspired poet to me, and one of her books is called The Dream of a Common Language.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And that title keeps coming back to me over and over again. And so the idea was maybe a common language could lead to collective action, and that's the whole mission of this book read. Yes, we're going to read the book together, but the point of it is we're going to gather after that and design 2 or 3 or 4 projects, some of which are listed right in that book. Another sign of hopefulness, because they name that. They name community as being not only important but effective for climate change, that there are things that we can do in a small community that actually have impact. So it just became a really exciting idea to me. The daunting part is always how to get the word out, how to not just get the word out, but inspire people to join. How do we do that?
Well, I think part of the inspiration is what you just said. I think that the phrase climate change can feel daunting, just as the political situation can feel very daunting because it feels like, oh my God, it's so big. But what you just said about identifying things you can do locally, that matter,
Yes.
that have an impact.
Yes.
I think that's what inspires people. Because sometimes you can feel like, oh, I recycle, but does it make a difference? You know, they throw
Right.
most of that stuff out anyway, everything I put in there. But I think to be able to identify things that say, yeah, no, if we do this in our community, it actually matters. It
Yes.
makes a difference. I think that's the inspiration that you've just delivered.
And there's a couple of projects, if you don't mind me saying, that
Please.
that we're hoping will get on the roll, and
Yeah.
they are inspired by a wonderful nonprofit in Lawrence called Groundwork Lawrence, and the executive director spoke at one of our events a couple of years ago, and they will be returning. They have a program in Lawrence, and this is national, but they are local to Lawrence. They plant trees. They plant trees everywhere. And Lawrence is a beautiful community that has been left in some ways by the wayside. They had incinerators there for years. Their air quality wasn't great. They had very little green space, and green space, we know, helps the environment. It helps human health and so
Yes.
forth. They've planted more than 4,000, almost 5,000 trees in their tenure. They believe very strongly in urban agriculture as a climate change game changer. Those are two things that we can do here in this community.
Absolutely.
Even though we have beautiful trees, we could literally guerrilla plant trees in places that maybe the city owns, that may, a roundabout, or and the other part, and to develop that idea of planting trees. And maybe we tried this before, taking people to Lawrence during their tree planting efforts and helping them. The second one that we're very interested in is to use our mini farm, the Huddles mini farm out on the rail trail, as a launching pad to develop urban agriculture. So we're going to work on that. We need to raise funds for that, but we could literally expand it all the way to Parker Street and have right now we grow food about 300 or 400 pounds a year, and they go to it goes to Among Friends Kitchen and to First Parish Food Pantry. But to do more of that makes an impact. It makes an impact on people's consciousness and on our environment.
Well, that sounds really terrific. I used to do presentations on the healing power of nature, and so I studied the research and they have the data, the kind of large data sets that show that in communities that have more of a tree canopy, just more tree cover, the health statistics prove that it's good for everyone's health. There are certain trees that, I think it's silver birches. There's something about the little hairs on the leaves that captures air pollution.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's fabulous.
I mean, there's all kinds of research that's been done. So it's been proven that it's better for people's health. So I think that's just brilliant. Plus, trees capture carbon.
They do.
It's a plus.
The third project that is a personal one of mine that I'm very interested in developing is literally what we spoke of earlier, is how to make change in an affluent, comfortable community, and a lot of that has to do with travel. And they talk about it in the book. It's, air travel is one of the greatest carbon footprint things in our world right now. And when you are affluent, and perhaps you are retired and you have a lot of time, you're traveling hither, thither, and thon. And it's hard. That part is hard. But to have a conversation that could develop into personal changes for many of us is something that inspires me. And it's hard. It's my husband and I, our son lives on the West Coast.
That's right.
There's no way of seeing each other without getting on an airplane. And people would never stop seeing their families by air travel. But there's ways to offset that, carbon footprint offsets, which are not that effective but can, and maybe getting creative about the way we travel. Like Mark and I were thinking, maybe we fly halfway and train the other half of the way, and then it would save sort of one airline. Sort of, I don't know. But there again, community will develop the creative ideas.
But that's worth thinking about.
It
wouldn't
is.
have occurred to me. But I love trains.
Yeah, I do too. Better than air. Yeah.
And I'm sure that is a discussion and a set of research that could I've no doubt can come up with creative ways to sort of cut down the
If
carbon
people are
emissions.
willing, if they're willing, yeah.
But again, I think people are often willing when the idea is presented to them.
Yes.
And when there's information about it, and when they feel like they have options, but they don't necessarily have to figure out, for somebody to feel like I either visit my family in California or I fly out there or I don't go. I mean, they're going to go. But if somebody could say, well, there's a great national park in someplace in the middle of Missouri.
Yeah.
Maybe there is. I don't know.
Somebody will tell you after this.
Yeah, and you can take a train the rest of the way. I think giving people ideas and options is always
and
a
making
good
them
thing to
together.
do.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
Right. And making them feel as though, again, as we were talking about before, you can have an impact. This makes an impact. It's something your individual choice can have an impact that really matters for the health of the planet, which means it matters for every living form on the planet. So I think those are great ideas.
Yeah, me too.
Well, tell us about the launch event that you're having at City Hall in the auditorium from 6 to 8 p.m. on October 30th. Who should come? What's going to happen? What should people expect?
Sure. It's a big program. It's that's when we give the books away. So that's when the book read starts, October 30th.
Okay.
So the giving the books away is part of it, but we also did a community art project in the spring and over the early summer called And Justice for All, and it's about the Merrimack River and aspirations of the communities along the river. The artist was Jen Huell, who did the mural right here at the Senior Center on the outside of the shed. She's
Yes.
a butterfly pollinator gardener and
Yes,
a beautiful artist.
Yeah.
So she gathered us together over 2 or 3 sessions, and we sort of imagined our aspirations and our hopes for the Merrimack Valley, and then we drew and painted in all the communities, and she added these beautiful symbols. It's 12 feet long.
Wow.
It's never been seen by the public, and so the big reveal is that night.
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm going to deliver sort of a little bit of a keynote speech. We're going to have a reading from the book with comments by Teddy Speck, who's the artistic director at Theater in the Open, but it's going to be read by a board member from Storm Surge, which felt like a really nice combination of science and art, which is sort of our point. Teddy had an acting gig that night, so we have somebody from the board of Storm Surge. Groundwork Lawrence will be presenting. C10 has a spotlight of 5 minutes to tell us about them. And I think that's it. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody because it's not written down anywhere. So it's going to be a fun night. There'll be refreshments. There'll be definitely time to speak about and to gather for book groups because it won't be an ongoing book group, but we're looking for everybody to come. We're trying for young people. It's a book from middle school up. We'd love the schools to get involved, City Hall, educators, activists, anybody that has a group of their own that might want to have a book discussion afterwards. We will do a couple of them ourselves, some of them on Zoom, some in person. The whole idea from that discussion, so the book read will go from the end of October till the end of November, and then starting in December and through the next year, we'll be forming small groups to figure out, okay, what are the 3 or 4 initiatives that Newburyport wants to do? I think it's so important to have dialogue across all our sectors. The city council has been supportive. The mayor's been very supportive, and it's been difficult for us to reach schools, but we're working on that. We're going to do a project with ACES next week and so forth.
Yeah.
So just to try to reach that audience.
Yeah, that sounds great, Paula. Now, and the PEG Pioneers, how will they fit into this endeavor, or if they do?
So they are hosting this, so that means they're literally helping run it, and then they will form leadership in terms of who wants to lead one of the discussions, so we can have many small discussions going. We're talking to the Senior Center about having one of those here. So the Pioneers will, lead book groups and also help initiate those projects that we want to do.
Wonderful.
And find people and get support. There'll be the support element of it all,
Well, if I'm understanding you, what you're hoping will come out of this will be there'll be a spark. And
Yes.
Here's you and this are the spark.
Let's hope it ignites.
The event will add fuel.
Yes.
So the fire grows larger.
Yes.
And the excitement and the inspiration grows larger. And then what I'm hearing from you is there will be, what I'm picturing is like a radiating sun, that there will be offshoots reaching out to include the entire community, but partly by aiming at different subgroups like the schools,
Yes.
City officials and government agencies and people who, everybody, it's not a digression, but I'm backing up. It occurs to me everybody has a community that they're attached to.
Yes.
And each individual then that you engage in this sparking kind of bonfire that we're talking about here has other communities
Yes.
that they can take this to, who hopefully will get sparked, and before you're done you have a citywide bonfire, so to speak.
It's like a synchronicity that
Yes,
happens that
that's
lights
right.
it.
That's
and
right.
the first pioneer meeting at Jabberwocky, it was on September 25th. No, September 11th. That's exactly what we did. We invited everybody to come up and to identify where they're connected in the community, so that we could, and then we formed segments or
Yeah.
projects out of, not projects, but groups out of that. And so then our following meetings, and we have one this evening, was to find, talk to those connecting groups and find out, have you reached out and what do you need for help? And
Yeah.
it's just like that. It's grassroots, it's groundwork, and it might sound a little vague because we don't yet know what the projects are, but that's the whole point, is will this book inspire you? I think it will. And from that inspiration, would you be willing to talk to the places you're connected with to see what you might want to, bring to the table and get involved with? I don't want to tax people, but these are good projects that will make us feel better about ourselves, but
Yeah.
also really put action into the community. And there's nothing better than that to me. That to me is the definition of activism: community and action. There you go.
Well, I think from another angle, it's also the definition of happiness and well-being.
Oh,
Because people feel, as you said, better about themselves, better about the world they live in, and more hopeful. When they feel like there are things that we can do that make a difference, they matter, I matter, my
Yeah.
efforts matter. And I think we all need to feel a sense of purpose in life. We all need to feel like we're part of something larger than our individual egos and our individual comfort. And that kind of spirit or soul kind of need, I think, that we all have is critically important, especially these days.
yes, I
And so
totally
I think
agree.
that what you're outlining is a way for people to have a path to amplifying their own sense of individual agency and purpose and being part of something that's larger than themselves, as big as the planet. But
Yes.
starting locally with something you yourself can do when you plant a tree, which is very concrete. Some has to be vague because there's creativity that can fill in those spaces, but you just right now on this show
You
talked
could
about
dig a
some
hole.
very, very
You
can
could
dig
dig
a
a
hole.
hole.
You can plant a seed. You can water the tree.
And this is so personal to me because I felt isolated by the
Yeah.
largeness, the hugeness of
Yeah.
what, one of my spiritual teachers, Tara Bruck, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and she simply said, when you live in an authoritarian country like the USA, it was like, it's not coming, it is here. And that is what is the impetus for this for me, because over the summer it was very, very difficult to feel exhausted, to feel overwhelmed, and to not do anything but sit on a couch and read for a lot of the time was disheartening and isolating to me.
Yeah.
So community, action, dig a hole.
Yeah.
It's going to save my skin, and maybe it'll save other people's too.
Yeah, I think so. And much of the reading that I've done, all of the reading that I've done on resistance groups and, it's always grassroots. It always builds from the bottom up, always.
That's heartening. That is very
yeah.
heartening.
And so there's an added, significance. It's when people overcome that feeling. It's so easy to get just, what? What just happened? And it's like, oh. But I think that the grassroots agency on a mass scale is what turns the corner. There's a tipping point.
Yes.
That happens. And more people are writing about this now. Actually, David Brooks has an article in The Atlantic that just came out in the November edition. It's interesting. I sometimes find David Brooks annoying, but that's an issue for another day. But this is I'll see if I can email it to you. Somebody sent me a free copy. I'll see if I can email it to you. It's very interesting. It's about the need for a mass kind of grassroots movement. And he gives the history of different, he talks a lot about the Philippines, for example. It took a long time, but it worked to depose the Marcos regime.
Right.
So,
Did take a long time.
Well, now we're on to something that I didn't want to ask you about, because when I think of you, Paula, the word undaunted comes to mind.
Oh.
You are undaunted.
Oh.
And I know that that's something you must have to work at.
It makes me feel like I'm way too serious. I'm too serious in life. I am. I mean, I think I started to lose friends when I first read this book because of the air travel thing. It's like I was shaking people. Like, you can't do this anymore. And they were like, what are you talking about? I'm going to Italy next week or Greece tomorrow or whatever. And, so I have focused on purpose for so many decades of my life. And I think part of it is because I did come from privilege. I am privileged. I'm not rich, but living this life here is a privilege. Oh, yeah. And I just, being an artist, you want to know that you're making a difference, and it just has always, my art expression and my activism has always had a creative part to it, but an insistence that art messages something important to people. I love pretty pictures, but I respect and am moved by art that, with a creative expression, theater, and we're all doing it. The Actors Studio is starting to have programs that are specifically about justice. So is Theater in the Open. This is fantastic. Yeah. Because it brings the message to us all in a way that we can sit still and take it. And, as you were saying, it's like, what next? What now? What happened today? That is trauma. And more and more what I'm reading about in terms of activism and the current climate is that we are traumatized. And our early traumas have risen to the surface. Well, here's another one of like losing friends. No, I didn't. But, having dinner with friends and we're talking about trauma. And this beautiful friend of mine said, I haven't had any trauma in my life. It's like, my husband and I were like, well, that's all I've had. It seems so, I don't know. I'm a very serious person, but I like to have community around me to raise my spirits and...
Well, and it works for you, clearly.
Yeah.
Because you are undaunted. You keep going.
I keep going.
And you take risks. Because some of the things that you raise with people, I'm sure, and they go, well, wait a minute, you mean I have to change?
That's such a big one. That's why climate came to the surface. Yeah. Because in politics, we can write letters, we can call, we can go legislate, we can do all of that. But climate is going to require personal change. There's no way around that. And part of the hope of this book for me was that renewables, and again, it lays it out in a very simple way for me, because I'm not a scientist. I don't read those heavy-duty books because I just can't wade through them. Yeah. But just the positivity of renewable energy and that we could work towards that. Green roofs in commercial buildings like Kmart or the Brown School. Yeah. Can you imagine a green roof? That's
I've seen pictures of
it's not that hard.
No, and they're really interesting looking. Because they have plants kind of coming
it's like
down the
hair.
sides
It's
of
like
the
a little
building,
hairdo up there.
It's really interesting. And they're more and more building hospitals because there's all kinds of evidence that show that plants, just being greenery, even a view outside your hospital window, that famous gallbladder study they did years ago that showed that people got better when they could, instead of looking out at like just a brick wall, when they could look out a window and see a tree, a natural landscape.
And they can grow food. They can grow the food for the hospitals.
Yeah.
Anna
So
Jakes. I mean, we have a lot of opportunity here,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of work. I'm not alone, thank God, in it. So there you have it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you describe yourself as a serious person. I know what you mean by that because you, I see you as a passionate person. I guess that's the adjective that comes to my mind.
Thank you.
And you're serious and thoughtful about things that more of us should be serious and thoughtful about. And that's all to the good. But I also see you as somebody with joy in your life because, as we were talking about before, I think that when people apprehend something truthful, instead of lies or fictions or fantasies, I think there's something, maybe bracing is the right word.
Oh,
There's
that's a
something
good
very
one.
bracing about uncovering a truth and knowing what the truth is. And some of what the truths that we need to confront right now have to do with climate change and also what human nature is like, I think. So I see you as, being somebody who seeks out the truth about serious topics and then questions yourself to say, what can I do? And how can I get, how can I nab other people to keep me company in this?
It would be nice
that to me seems like there's a joy.
Yes.
And a heart-opening
There
quality.
definitely
And
is
that's
joy
the
in
other
my
way
passion.
I see you as somebody who carries a lot of love for humanity and the world. So
Aw.
there you have it. Let's balance out
Thank
this
you.
picture.
Let's do that because, I wish I could go to dinner parties and talk about movies, but I tend to corner people and shake them and, whatever. But yes,
Well, it
I am
depends on
passionate.
the movie.
Yes.
So-
But, justice is the core of my passion. It really is. And climate has justice wrapped so much in it.
Yeah.
We don't see that as much here, but in a city like Lawrence or Haverhill, you see the discrepancies of climate justice amplified and acted out right there.
Yeah. Well, Paula, it sounds like just a wonderful idea and a very impactful idea. That's the other adjective that comes to my mind when I think about you, because I think your activism is very impactful. And I was just reminded of something I was reading this week. Maybe it'll come to me where I read it, but it was interesting in terms of joy and happiness. And it was making a distinction between happiness, which we tend to think of as a static state, although it's not. We strive to be happy, and that's the goal.
Keep it.
And keep it, right, which is impossible. But joy is something we can have in moments, no matter what is going on.
Yes.
Even in situations that are otherwise daunting. Because for me, there's much joy in nature. But for each of us, we can look outside. It's a sunny day, and I didn't know it was going to be. And there's flashes of joy then that can overtake your spirit. And this is worth living for. And that's also how I see you, because your face brightens.
It does. I do. I see it in myself, too.
And so,
my face at rest is not the same as my face in community.
well,
That's
I think
for sure.
as soon as you find something that you feel like, we could do this, or I can do this, or I'm going to call so-and-so up and get them to join me in this, and I read this great book. And I think that there is a lot of joy in your life. That's how I see you anyway. And
Thank
I'm
you so
glad that
much.
you could come on the show and share the joy that you take in being active and thoughtful about serious issues.
Being
because
with
we all
you,
should be.
it puts a huge smile on my face. I feel so seen, so loved, so supported.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you. Thank you so much, Mary.
Well, we should end, Paula, with telling people how they can register to come to the event.
Just go to the website, thepegcenter.org, and it's all over social media. If you're on our mailing list, which is up to about 3,000 now, it comes every week to your inbox. And we're looking to fill City Hall Auditorium. We really would love to. And the more books we give away, the better. Jabberwocky, I want to just put a huge shout out to them, because the more we buy, the bigger the discount is from them, and they've been so accommodating to us. So we've got boxes and boxes of books, and I just want to see some of that excitement, because we need it. We could all use some joy and some excitement about what we can do together.
So there you have it, everybody. Go to the PEG website, and you'll get all the information that you need. Thank you so much, Paula. It's always fun to talk to you, and I'm always so impressed with your activism and your being always undaunted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today, everybody. Please join us again next Thursday at 9 for the morning show. Until then, everybody, please be well.